views on the following program are not necessarily those of WPSL. However, we do encourage you to like and share them on social media. It's time for the Sue Ellen Sanders Show. Always something exciting going on here on the Treasure Coast. Now here's your host, Sue Ellen Sanders.
Welcome to the Sue Ellen Sanders Show, and we're really happy you're here today. If my voice sounds a little bit muffled, that's because I'm following the face mask ordinance. Of course, I've been wearing them for since March, whenever I'm in a crowded situation or not able to social distance. But we did, try to move 6 feet apart at the radio station and then go without face masks for the point of the microphone. Today, though, I have Canaria Gardner with me. She's the executive director of United Against Poverty, and we are going to do the show with masks on, just to show that you can do just about anything with a mask on, including talk, because, of course, the St. Lucie County mandate for wearing face masks in places of business and when there's contact with the public and for people out and about doing their business took effect this week. So, Canaria, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
And this is a whole new world. It's a whole new world for us, and we're really grateful that there are organizations like United Against Poverty that are here to help people find their way. It was hard enough in the old world, but
absolutely
in the new world. So let's talk a little bit about United Against Poverty. It's also known as UP. And previous to that, it had another common name. What was the organization called?
Harvest Food and Outreach.
Harvest Food and Outreach. So you may know it as, there was a while where saying UP sounded weird and different, and now it sounds normal, and harvest sounds weird and different.
Exactly. It does.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about the organization and what you do. Some of the things, I know to begin with, when it first opened, it was kind of like a grocery store, a supply store for people who were in need to receive stuff at discount, but now it's grown into so much more.
Absolutely. It definitely morphed into something else. The organization was established in 2006. We have 3 different locations here in St. Lucie County, Indian River, and also in Orlando. And our purpose is to inspire and empower those in poverty to lift themselves and their families to economic self-sufficiency. And so when the founders first opened the organization, they was trying to address food insecurities. And that's what became our membership grocery program, in which an individual can save up to 70% of retail value on food and household products. But by serving the population that way, the founders realized that these individuals needed more than just food. So we developed 3 other core programs to help someone reach economic self-sufficiency, one being education. Education is extremely important when you're trying to get somebody a better job. So definitely they need certain skill sets like basic computer classes, GED preparation. And then also we have our crisis stabilization program. And just that program alone has went up 2,500% since COVID because people are experiencing more crisis in our community. Definitely it is a different world, like you said, and the COVID pandemic is producing more situations in which someone needs help to get out of. And then also we have our Success Training Employment Program, better known as STEP, in which is a 3-phase, 120-hour curriculum-based training that helps somebody develop emotional intelligence skills, job acquisition, and workplace skills in order to get a self-sufficient job or livable wage. So definitely our core programs, once they work together in unison, it can really help somebody go from poverty to economic self-sufficiency.
A lot of the people that you help are people who have been identified and defined in the community as the Alice families,
Correct.
as defined by the United Way. And, Alice families are not families that are just waiting for a handout. Alice stands for Asset Limited, Income Constrained, Employed Families. And they're a lot of them are the families that are right on the edge. And unfortunately, COVID at 19 has created a situation where if they're not closer to the edge of the fiscal cliff, they're almost falling off it because they're just one. But pre-pandemic, they were one step away from financial disaster, and this may have pushed them to the brink.
Oh, absolutely. Our Alice population is also considered the working poor, and most often they have jobs or wages in that household. Some even have multiple jobs, but they just don't earn enough money to afford their basic life necessities, such as housing, childcare, transportation, health care, and I always forget one. It's transportation, how childcare, healthcare, definitely,
Childcare.
absolutely,
Right.
but definitely, that population is struggling just to make ends meet. So the COVID-19 pandemic has really pushed those families over the edge, and some of our community members are even facing what we call situational poverty now, meaning that before the COVID they were fine, but now because of COVID their employer may have closed their business, or they may have been laid off due to COVID. So they're experiencing what we call situational poverty. And in our community, we have approximately 51% of St. Lucie County residents are in the Alice population.
Which is a tremendous amount.
Oh, absolutely.
To be considering. And when you first started United Against Poverty, the whole adage, and I'm not going to get it exactly right, that you can give a man a fish and he'll eat for a day.
Absolutely.
And you teach him to fish and, he can eat for a year, something like that.
Absolutely. That's our motto.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily a handout, but a hand up. We will help you to gain the skill set in which you need in order to, per se, fish for a lifetime, or what I like to call to be self-sufficient. Because it's a different model if you're an organization that constantly gives handouts. What it does is that person that's receiving the handout actually it creates a sense of dependency to them. And
it's
so
like you're their mama.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so definitely we have a different model. We want to teach you how to fish, because we know if we teach you how to fish, then you will always eat. And so definitely that's our model. And on last year, we had the EPA and the USDA come to our community because of a local food, local places technical assistance program in which they sponsor. And they had an opportunity to tour Fort Pierce and also some organizations in Fort Pierce. And definitely what they advised us is that our model is very unique, because it has a pathway to economic self-sufficiency versus something that's going to create dependency. So they're definitely in favor of our model, and it really made me feel good because they travel all across this wonderful nation and visit some of the poorest communities in the nation to be able to provide this technical assistance. And so they informed that our model needs to be in every city across the nation, because it actually creates a track to economic independence. And I think for the most part, that's what a person want. They just want to
They
be
do. They
independent.
want to feel good about
Absolutely,
what they're accomplishing,
absolutely.
and they want to put food on the table. And um, what what is the positive thing that has come out of this pandemic? I think is the the reactions of people who have enough, who continue to have jobs and have money, even though they're not necessarily the ones who have the most money.
Mhm.
They're the ones that are hosting food distribution
Mhm.
drives. Like, for example, um, St. Matthew's Church recently announced they're starting their church. They're not, a wealthy congregation. They're a church in a Fort Pierce neighborhood that uh, is dedicated to helping the people around them. And beginning this last week, every Friday at 10 o'clock, they're going to do a food distribution, a
Oh
drive
wow.
through food distribution. Of course, the food bank is doing different food pickups
Mhm.
and food distributions. They usually only announce them like the day before, which is kind of frustrating if you're
Yeah.
trying to get the word out. But I asked one time, we had the gentleman from the food bank here on the radio show, and I said, how come you only tell, the media, or you tell people who could share that information the day before? He said, because they found that if you announce it too far in advance, people from several counties away have time to plan,
Mhm.
and then they come down and they're part of the distribution. They receive the food that is meant for our local people.
Absolutely.
But anyhow, my point is that everybody is kind of getting together and helping everybody else, and um, there's different community grants and funds that have come up. Of course, there's federal dollars that
Mhm.
we're able um, to use and to distribute. St. Lucie County has done an awesome job. Just recently, last month or so, they started a website called Recover St. Lucie.
Okay. Yes.
And if you're not familiar with it, it's kind of a clearinghouse of all the
Uh huh.
different things that are going on. So it makes it easier for people to have one stop on the website to find out what they can do to help. And you at a United Against Poverty, you're kind of that physical one stop for
Absolutely.
people who are in need, whether it's situational, it's
Mhm.
temporary, or whether it's been going on for a while. You can help them, and you have been helping them. I know you've been very successful, as the kudos that have come to you from USDA and other organizations visiting and liking your model and trying to replicate it in other areas. But how have your services been forced to change since March?
Oh wow. It has been a lot of changes since March. We have universal masking in the center now. Also, our hours.
Do your masks come from the St. Lucie County Health Department? Because I know that we had a lot of masks that we were able to distribute from them.
Yes, actually, St. Lucie Health Department recently gave us a large abundance of masks. And we are definitely getting it in the hands of the most vulnerable population, as well as our hours of operation has changed. We had to restrict how many people that we can have in one space, because when you're following all CDC guidelines, we had to something simple as where to stand, so you won't be so close to someone else if you're at the welcome desk or if you're in line to be checked out. Definitely, its businesses have temporarily closed their doors to the public, like Department of Children and Families. Their access lobby location, which is housed into our location. And what that did is it caused a domino effect, because normally somebody can come in and speak to someone or even get assistance with applying for benefits such as food stamps, Medicaid, and etc. So for when they closed down temporarily to the public, a lot of people didn't know where to go. They didn't know where to turn to. They didn't have computer access. They didn't have the internet. So what we did is we opened up our Life Enrichment Center as a computer lab, so those individuals can still come to us to apply for the assistance that they need online. And also we have paper applications available for them. And also I'm sure everybody has heard the difficulties it's been when you're applying for unemployment. And definitely we're assisting with that as well. Because the entity that normally oversees it definitely closed their doors due to the pandemic. I believe they was leaving just paper applications outside for someone's use. But definitely we kept our computer labs open so they can come in and actually apply online, as well as we did have the application available in several different languages for them. We also help with census, because we know how important it is for our community to have everyone do it. It directly affects the federal dollars
Oh, sure.
that our community receives.
And the in the last census year in 2010, the census count in St. Lucie County was 75%, which, in the scheme of things, you might think that sounds like a lot. But you think about also the 25% that didn't get counted.
Absolutely.
And the amount of money that was lost for each of those heads that didn't get counted, just communicating not just the importance of counting for the census, but also the fact that who gets counted. So, for example, if your kid is 3 months old, they get counted. If they're 1 day old, they get counted.
Yes.
If your child lives with you most of the year and lives with his father or your other spouse part of the time, if you're the household where he lives with you most of the year, you count them. If other people live in your house that aren't your family members, I know some people are hesitant to put that down on a piece of paper or an application because they think, hey, the landlord's going to come get me because I'm not supposed to do that. Well, with the census or the family, people can fill that information out and know that that's safe and secure.
Absolutely.
Because I think is it 72 years before the Census Bureau is allowed to release the information. I think that's the number.
Yes, it's definitely very secure. I worked for the census for a very brief time, and it doesn't matter if you have status to be in this country or not, because they're not going to report that information for quite some time. So but basically by just informing who's in your household, it will help your community get more money to provide resources for the community. And I think if you explain it that way, people are more lenient to disclose the information.
Right. Because people are concerned and noticeably concerned, but the fact of the matter is federal dollars for everything from roads to child care to informing people who are, it's like if you were in a doctor's office and you had 25% more patients show up than you expected, the doctor's office would be overwhelmed. Well, it's the same thing with the census. If
Exactly.
you've missed 25% of your count of people, then your infrastructure and all of your federal services aren't prepared to handle that, the 100% of the people who need it. Of
Abs-
course. And then also, I think one of the things that really, sorry to go off on the tangent about the census, but one of the things that really struck me was the fact that if you missed counting that 3-month-old kid,
uh-huh.
that number that they're counting is good for 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
So for 10 years worth of services for that child, you've missed counting them.
Absolutely, and that's extremely very important to point out, because you can't capture that a child again until 10 years later. So
Right.
it's extremely important to report it, because you're missing out on the potential benefits that your household can get, because we underreported the citizens in our communities. But one thing that I really appreciate, and if you're looking for positive things that have came out of this pandemic, is definitely community. I see community residents, business owners, nonprofit organizations, funders, all working together for a common cause, and that cause is to provide help to those that need it the most. And so definitely when we have that 2,500% spike in our crisis stabilization program, just know that we're connected to a lot of community partners that help support the program to provide their services so our clients can benefit. And so definitely community and working together and communication is extremely very important in this unusual time.
And I think those of us who've lived in St. Lucie County for a long time, you kind of take for granted that in every area that organizations work so well together, at both nonprofits and the business community and the people working together as a group. But that's not really true. I think that we have so much synergy in St. Lucie County, and particularly on the Treasure Coast,
Mhm.
that I see even more of it come out. We were talking about during COVID, organizations, the Treasure Coast Food Bank continues to do an awesome job, but we kind of really expect that of them. But we didn't know that other organizations like the Fort Pierce Women's Club and
Exactly.
the churches and the other organizations that would step up to the plate. Boys and Girls Club with their feeding distribution that was assisted, of course, by the Treasure Coast Food Bank. Area businesses and restaurants. The St. Lucie School District,
Mhm.
who, picked up and increased their food distribution at different locations. The St. Lucie County Library System. Canaria, you were talking about the lack of computers for people, and a lot of people had counted on those computers that were in the St. Lucie County libraries to be able to apply for different things. And you've, stepped in on the clutch. But meanwhile, while the libraries were closed, and I know there's just a couple that are large enough to have opened their doors. Some of them are really close quarters, so it's hard to open doors. But the main branch in downtown Fort Pierce, their doors are open. But the last month, they've been handing out these grab-and-go bags. Did you hear about them?
No, I didn't hear.
Those are really, and they still have them for kids. So parents of kids of like 10 and under, they can go by. And even if the branch is closed, there's a phone number on the door that says just call if you're looking for a grab-and-go bag. And they have like different activities for kids 4 different activities that are the kind of the summer things that the library might be doing if they were fully open with children's summer programs, but they've kind of made them to go and they've made them available for the kids.
Oh, that's
So,
great.
yeah, so it's just, I mean, and there's more and more and more of this stuff. And it just really, every day I wake up feeling blessed to be a part of this community. Um, somebody, I think Sean Boyle with the Children's Services Council posted something the other day on Facebook that really made me think. And he said, when you look back 10 years later at this time in your life where those memories pop up on Facebook,
Yes.
are you going to look at all the negative things that you posted? Are you going to look at all the doom and gloom that you talked about? Or are you going to be seeing that you were a beacon of light, so to
Absolutely.
speak, if you were someone that made things better for the community, or in whatever little way you could, whether it was just through your words or through your actions. So
Absolutely. That's a very enlightening statement, and it's very powerful, because that's what I call it, the rocking chair test. I'm sorry, I thought
oh, that's okay.
I call it the rocking chair test. And basically, when I'm retired, and I look back over my life, uh, what hope did I give to others? I definitely, my mission in life is to help and to serve others. So one thing I really like and love about United Against Poverty, and the reason why I'm a part of the organization, is because I was in a point in my life that I wanted to give back. I wanted to give back to others. Sometimes when people are going through difficult situations in their life, they just need some words of encouragement. They need somebody to lift them up. And so to be that to someone every single day when I come into work, I can honestly say that I don't look at my job as a job. I definitely look at it as it aligns with my personal goals and beliefs.
As a calling.
And as a
Yeah.
calling. You're
Yeah.
absolutely right. And so definitely when I look back, well, when I hope to look back on this time and see that I made a difference, even if it's to one person, that I made a difference during one of the most difficult times in our country with this pandemic, because it is unusual. And a lot of people are afraid because they don't know what to expect. They don't know when they're going back to work. That business owner does not know when their business is going to be up and operational. And so you just have to keep encouraging them through it and connecting them to resources that's going to help the situation. So I'm actually proud of the work that we do at United Against Poverty. I'm proud to serve our community with excellence and definitely provide the services that community members need right now during this time and even after this time, because as long as people are hurting, I definitely want to help lift them up.
Well, it's going to be, even after COVID, there is a vaccine,
Hmm.
or it's not something that's the first thing that we think of every morning
Hmm.
when we wake up. There's still going to be a long recovery period.
Oh, absolutely.
There's going to be a long period of time where we're just getting back to the new normal, which is never going to be the same as the old normal
No,
was.
it's not. No, it's not.
Um,
I definitely anticipate it's going to be anywhere from 9 months up to 2 years before um, we can get back to, well, at least attempt to get back to pre-COVID times, because it's going to take time for that business once they reopen to gain customers, for people to know that they're back open. It's going to be time that it's going to take for residents to pull themselves out of that hole, because bills are piling up, but the income is not coming in. And so that has a domino effect, and it's going to take quite some time before we get back to where we were before. But definitely, our organization is committed to seeing individuals throughout the time.
So, tell me a little bit about some of the typical people who come in to United for Families, you no, United Against Poverty. There was a United for Families. I think they changed their name.
Yes.
Yeah, but United Against Poverty, um, otherwise known as UP. The typical person that comes in, can you describe them? What type of help they're looking for?
Well, we see an array of individuals. It can be a single mother that recently lost her job, um, that's looking for emergency food. We do have a emergency crisis pantry in which we can provide those necessary food items so nobody leaves hungry. And also, we plan on connecting them with our membership grocery program. Um, it can be a business owner who who business closed because of COVID. So they're coming in to get information about how they can pull themselves out of the situation and also pass that information to their staff members that are no longer employed as well. Um, it could be somebody coming in to apply for government benefits because they have nowhere else to go to apply for government benefits. It can be somebody who has recently lost their job and want to utilize STEP to help them get another job. It can be employers. We also see employers that come in that's looking for some good employees, so we're able to make those connections for them. Even other nonprofits and food pantries have came in because they either want to provide a resource to our community members, or in some instance they're looking for additional fresh fruits and vegetables for their clientele. So it could be a lot of different people that can come in for different reasons, but primarily they're in a situation that they need help getting out of. Um,
And you were talking about connections, and I
mhm.
think that is one of the areas where UP has created the most success for the community in helping the clientele make the connections of,
Uh,
because sometimes they know what they need, but they don't know where to turn to.
where to go exactly. Definitely one thing that I really enjoy is that we serve every zip code in St. Lucie County, and definitely our community partners are all throughout St. Lucie County. And so when somebody comes in and we identify a need or a service that they have, we plug them in to that community partners database, or we make the connection for them, because most often on that organization's website, it might have the services, but it doesn't state what they need to bring to get the services, or maybe they can only come one day a week. And so, what our crisis stabilization manager does is call the different community partners, find out exactly what they need to bring, what day they need to go there, and even in some instances make the appointments with for them, um, to provide to the resident, because we want to bring down every barrier and definitely have our participants go there informed and with realistic expectations. Because in some, if transportation is a barrier, and or right now you're not working and you don't have the extra gas money, it can be real problematic for you to go to this organization and that organization only to see a closed sign on the door. So for somebody in our organization to actually pick up the phone, call that organization, let them know that you're coming, and also what you need to bring so you won't get turned away when you get there, I think that's extremely very important.
Or also, as far as having the computer bank there, you can help. You have people that can help guide through a lot of the application process for different organizations too. I know more organizations have limited um, visiting uh, hours or areas where people can come into the office and are making more of the access through
Mhm.
the computer. But if you don't have a computer, even if you have a phone, a lot of times it's difficult to fill out a whole application and frustrating on the
Absolutely.
phone.
And sometimes they just don't even understand the question, or they don't have basic computer skills to navigate the computer or the website. So just having somebody there with you to help walk that journey with you is reassuring to the participant that, for one, they're in the right place, and that most of our participants actually consider us family, because of the support that we give. It's like they have their own individual cheerleaders when they come in, to the organization, because we want to see them successful and we want to see them win. And so, definitely to help put together a plan so they are successful, that's what most people need, because I don't think the average person knows all of the community resources that are available to them.
No,
And so, for
even the educated person doesn't know all.
exactly.
Yeah.
But by us having relationships with these other organizations, what we do is create a network of services, a network of providers in which, that individual can tap into those services. So I like to call it an ecosystem,
Hmm.
in which the participant is in the center of the ecosystem, and everybody's providing services to that individual so they can become successful. And one thing I really like about our STEP program is that we case manage them for 3 years, because it's really not about them just finding a job. It's about them being economic self sufficient. So sometimes their career plans is is a couple of years long.
Hmm.
So and our members really, and our participants really enjoy the fact that we're calling them to say, hey, how are you doing with your plan? And how are you doing with saving? How is your credit going? Because we want to position them to go into home ownership. We want to position them to go into a higher paid wage job, to be 100% economic self sufficient, so they don't need any type of government benefits. And out of the 115,000 households in our county, it's only approximately under 15,000 that receives any type of government benefits. But however, I can't. I believe in 2012, when they did an analysis on how much these benefits is costing the county, it's in the millions of dollars. So you definitely want to provide somebody the support that they need in order to be economic self sufficient, so they don't need those
Those
government
government benefits.
benefits. Absolutely.
Well, so starting to talk about money
Hmm.
here, one of the other things that is a constant with any nonprofit organization is any type of fundraising, and grants and other ways that you are supported, whether it be through federal government or United Way. What are some of the ways that you're supported? Who pays for the services that you provide?
Absolutely. That's a very good question. Right now, we're supported by our community. We're supported by foundations in our community, from residents that donate to our cause. We had scheduled events on the calendar for this year, but because of COVID, we had to cancel some of those events. However, we have the opportunity now to create virtual events, because the money that we get through development fundraising, all those dollars go directly back into our programs to help people. So the more money we raise, the more we can expand the programs and the services and the deliverables. So definitely it's extremely important to constantly cultivate relationships that can help us meet those metrics. But we do not receive any federal dollars at this time. But I am, because I understand how important it is. Uh, so what I'm doing right now is actually writing federal grants in order to get federal dollars to the Up Center, because definitely the more money we have, the more we can help the most vulnerable population.
I'm glad you brought up special events too, because that's something else that, as somebody who handles special events for the Early Learning Coalition, we have like things that we do free for families
Hmm.
that we didn't make any money off of, but when we try to get out into the community to offer these families free books and free educational toys and materials, we can't do that in a situation where it could be a danger to the agencies that would be taking part or the people that would be coming. So we got to figure out other alternative methods. And the same thing with fundraisers. You see more and more fundraisers going virtual and figuring out a way that they can get what they need to done. But it's been a real learning experience. We've really had to be creative and think outside the box of what we typically do. A lot of nonprofit organizations have regular fundraisers that,
Hmm.
every year they do, whether they be like your April Fool's Day run or, the Selfish Beer Mile, or, there's only so many times you can move an event. And I don't know about you, but back in March, like we moved our family fun fair from April to September, and we thought, oh, well, September, that'll be fine.
Yeah.
Well, we just canceled that family fun fair because it's not going to be fine.
Nope.
It's not a situation where we can be feel comfortable with having 1,000 families come and be part of an event where they're in a bounce house or getting face painted. So we're going to do a drive-through event instead,
Oh, okay.
where they're going to drive through several stations in a parking lot, and so we'll be planning on that. But it's like everybody has had to go back to the drawing board
Hmm. Absolutely.
and recreate ideas that we were doing for years that worked for us. The chili cook-off for the Boys and Girls Club would usually takes place in the middle of July, and that was recently canceled. They're trying to regroup and come up with different virtual ideas where they
Hmm.
can raise money too. And I know, like I said, you had your April Fool's Day run, and that was right at the beginning of
Yep.
everybody being shut down. So you probably had a whole lot of planning already done for that.
Oh, absolutely. It takes a year of planning for a major event, and so definitely we were in the thick of planning and spent a lot of money on advertisement and just getting the word out. But the event had to get canceled, and also this year was going to be our first annual blues barbecue and bike fest.
Oh my goodness.
uh and we were so excited about that event. We had Harley Davidson sponsor the event, and it was going to be actually on Memorial Day in downtown Fort Pierce. So
Oh
we was
my.
really looking forward to that festival, but we had to postpone it to next year just because of COVID. And even we have a hands up lunch that was scheduled to be in October, but we can't have a couple hundred people in a small space. So
That's
we
not social distancing.
no, it's not. So
Yeah.
we decided to do a 8-week campaign instead, virtually. And definitely even how we our service deliverables have changed in our membership grocery program, because we have what we call the mobile mart now, in which we go to certain communities and provide a way that community can get about 17 to 20 pounds of fresh produce for a $5 handling fee.
Well, let's talk about some of the services that you do provide and you're continuing to provide, because I wasn't aware of the mobile mart that you do. So tell me more about that.
Yes, the mobile mart actually, we have them at all of our locations. So we have had the mobile marts in Orlando, in any River County. We next month we're gonna have two scheduled in Port St. Lucie. But for a couple of months we have been going out to Okeechobee, and also in Martin. In about 2 weeks ago we went to Martin County. So it's just a way that we can give information now about what we do as an organization, also provide a resource to the community, because statistically in Fort Pierce, there's over 70% of community residents that's either obese or overweight. And that's because Fort Pierce is a food desert. So certain residents do not have the opportunity to go to a grocery store, so they use corner stores, and most often they lack fruits and vegetables. And by you not consuming those on a regular basis, that's when high blood pressure and diabetes increase in that community. So because of that, there's over $17 million leakage just in the Lincoln Park community, meaning that people in the community spend over $17 million going outside of their community just to buy food for their household. And that's not good, because most often those nutritional types of food is not available. And so, which will increase medical issues that person might experience. So definitely, just by our sheer location, we're able to provide fresh fruits and vegetables at a very discounted cost.
And it's really ironic, because you would think that possibly people who didn't have a lot of money would be really, really skinny because they didn't have enough to eat. But you're right. It creates the opposite situation,
Absolutely.
because the cheaper foods and the more available foods are the things that are not healthy and not good for them.
Absolutely.
I mean, think about going to a fast food restaurant. You might be able to get chicken fingers or a burger on special for 99 cents or $1.99. But if you wanted to get a salad there, you'd be you'd be spending $10.
Exactly, and I say that all the time, because the items that are on special, it has a very high content of salt.
Yes.
And that's and people are not drinking enough water to dilute the salt, which is causing other health issues. So definitely with our membership grocery program, assisting our crisis stabilization program, helping individuals during this time and beyond this time, as well as our step is just so amazing, because we have pulled over 70 households out of poverty because of STEP and the services that they are providing.
Well, we got about 3 more minutes in the show today, so let's use those 3 minutes to talk some more about STEP.
Oh, absolutely. STEP is just a dynamic program. I'm going to tell you our biggest success story. We had an individual that came in that was actually living in a homeless shelter with her 2 small children. And she used to wake up 6 o'clock in the morning to get them dressed, to take the bus, to drop them off at daycare prior to coming to STEP class. and she did it, and she was consistent with it. She went through STEP. She earned 12 credentials, landed a very good job, still continued to live in the homeless shelter. But one day, and riding the bus, one day she called and worked with her success coach that works with her for well over 3 years, and basically informed her success coach, listen, I'm tired of riding this bus. What do you think I should do? And pretty much what they advise is, because of her financial plan, go ahead and get your car, make every payment on time. Then she called back again, said she's tired of living in a homeless shelter. We checked on her credit. Her credit was good. I'm happy to announce she's a homeowner now.
Oh,
100%
wow.
self-sufficient, and we walked that entire
Yes.
journey with her and gave her advice along the way. That is what STEP is about.
And just the fact that, you have that at least 3 year relationship, because people's ambition might ebb and flow. It might
Exactly.
be very strong for 6 months and then they run out of steam. And their coach, their success coach, is there to cheer them on. Like you said, you're their biggest cheerleaders.
Absolutely, and motivate them daily, and help them make good decisions that will benefit their household, for themselves and their children.
Well, if people want to find out more information about United Against Poverty, the Up Center, they've got a Facebook page.
Oh, absolutely, which is Hope of St. Lucie. That's our Facebook page.
And also you can check their website.
Which is upslc.org.
And Canaria Gardner, who's their executive director, has spent the last almost hour with me. I appreciate you taking the time to be here today.
Thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure to stop by.
And thank you for listening to the Sue Ellen Sanders Show. We'll be back next week with more.
Archives of the Sue Ellen Sanders Show are on YouTube. Look for YouTube under WPSL, WPSLTV.com. That'll take you to YouTube. And find the Sue Ellen Sanders Show and listen weekends. Check our schedule at WPSL.com.